Video, I'll show you how to create a website using Google Sites. You may recognize this website as the page that starts up when you restart your Chromebook. You can also get to this page by clicking on the Home button in your browser. But what you might not know is that I created this website using Google Sites. And you'll see it again in a minute. To get to Google Sites, the easiest way to do it is just to type in sites.google.com, or of course you can do a Google search for Google Sites, and that will eventually get you to this page. When you arrive at sites.google.com, you'll see this bar across the top. You might see a big blank section here if you haven't created any sites yet. Of course, I've created a bunch of Google Sites and I share some with other teachers. But this tile right here might look familiar. You can see this is our student homepage. So this is that page we were just on, which I was explaining I created with Google Sites. For you to get started, you're going to create a blank Google site by clicking on this plus symbol. And every time you create a new Google site, Google just gives you one page. That's your home page. And the first thing you'll want to do is give that page a title and also give your entire site a title. So just for the example, I'm going to create a website about movies. So I'm going to call my site Dr. Murphy's Movies. And then my home page, this first page that Google gives me, I'm just going to call My Favorite Movies. So you might notice a few things when you get started with Google Sites, and that is everywhere you move the cursor, things appear and disappear. So you can see right now there aren't any extra menus showing, but as soon as I hover over this banner section, I get an option to change the header type. I also get an option to change the image in the background. And then over on the left here, I get a trash can so that I can delete this whole section if I want to. And you can see when I hover over the text, I get that blue box showing me it's a text box. And I also get, you may not be able to see them, but they're those dots there that appear that show me that I can click on it and move this around if I want to. The other thing that you'll notice right away, of course, is that when you click into a text box, you get a very typical menu of how to change the font inside that text box. So all things that right off the bat will feel familiar, that are fairly easy, but that I just wanted to point out, these menus appear and disappear depending on where you put the cursor, right? So if I'm here, I might think, oh, there's nothing I can do, right, to change that box. But as soon as I start moving my cursor, I can see, oh yeah, there's lots of things I can do here. So we've only so far added a title to the site, changed the title on the page, and the last thing I'll show you about kind of the basics getting started, these blue dots that appear on the sides, and sometimes they'll appear on the corners of boxes. They're there, of course, so that you can click and drag them to change the size or shape of that box. So for instance here, this title is 2 lines, but if I drag this out and make it a little bit wider, I can get that title to show up on just 1 line. And then I can center it. If I click on these dots, I can drag it to the middle. Whoop, it shrunk again. So I'm going to drag it a little to the left, and then I'm also going to drag it a little to the right, and hopefully it'll be pretty centered. That looks pretty good. Now I have all this white space down here to take care of, so I can start adding content to my page. Over on the right side of the page, you see that I have an Insert tab with a bunch of options for things that I can add into this white space on my page. I'm going to start at the top with the basics. I can add a text box by clicking on, of course, text box. And you can see that adds a text box that goes all the way from the left to the right. It does have those 2 dots there that tell me that I can actually change the size of this text box if I just want it to be over on the left, and maybe over on the right I want to add another text box so that I can have columns. I'm actually going to do that so that I can show you a second way to add a text box. I can come all the way up here and click on text box again, or in this white space I can actually double tap, and you can see that I get a little quick menu. So here's my text box. You can see there's an image, there's a Google Drive file if I want to add one. But of course, for now, I'm just going to add a text box. And now you can see I have two text boxes that are side by side instead of having that one text box that stretches all the way across the page. So you can set up your page that way however you want. Text boxes, you can see over here on the left, I have an option to duplicate this section, and then I also now have a new button that I can change the background of this section. So I can just either add an image to the background, or I can just change the color of the background of that section. To add the text, of course, you just want to type in. So maybe I'm going to do drama movies, comedy movies, and I can add whatever text boxes I want here. Movies I don't like. And also want to add some pictures to make my page look a little bit nicer. So again, I can come over here to images, or wherever I want to put that picture, I can just double click and click on the image icon, and I have lots of options for how to add images. You can see that in my Google Drive, which is where it automatically goes, I have a bunch of pictures from the Snow Person contest, so I'm going to pick one of those for now. And you can see the picture just pops in on the website where I originally double clicked to add it. You see a lot more of those blue dots. I can change the size and shape of the photo. I can also click and drag this photo anywhere on my page. So I'm going to click on it and then just drag it. I can drag it up next to this text box. If I keep dragging, I can put it in between these two text boxes. I can even drag it up into my title and my header here and drop it up into the header. For now, I'm just going to put it over here next to movies I don't like, even though I like this photo and it's not a movie. When I click on it, you can see again I get some additional options there. But I just wanted to show you that you can move the photo around, you can change the size of it, and I can move this. If I want to grab this guy and drag it over, I can do the same thing. I can really organize the page however I want, as long as I kind of know how to keep bouncing everything around, and I'm not afraid to try things out. If you do something that you really don't like, you can just kind of try to move everything back around, or undo does work on Google Sites. So you can see up here, there's my undo button. So you can see if I click undo, you'll see the photo will gradually move back to where it originally was. You can also do Control Z on your keyboard, and I can keep undoing, and you can see the picture disappeared because I did Control Z on my keyboard. If I went a little bit too far, I want to get it back, I can hit redo, or on the keyboard it's Control Y. All right, so there's some basics: adding text boxes, adding images. I do want to show you a little bit about adding images because we had some additional options. So I'm going to double click, choose image. I only showed you Google Drive, but you can, if you know the URL of a page, of an image, you can paste in the URL, or you can also do a Google search for images right here in Google Sites, which might be nice. So if you're looking for, let's say one of my favorite movies is, let's say we'll go with the basics, right? Frozen. So I can click, I can type Frozen, and there's a Disney Frozen picture that I can click on. I can insert, and now I have Disney Frozen there with my snowman, and now I'm ready maybe to move on to my next section. So just wanted to show you a few ways to get images onto your page. Of course, my home page here is not finished, but let's say that it is. And I want to create a second page. You may have noticed over by this Insert tab, we have two more tabs, Pages and Themes. I'm not going to show you themes because I think you're going to be motivated to check out the themes on your own and to explore them. So instead, I'm just going to show you the Pages tab. You can see that I have just one page on my Pages tab, which makes sense. But way down at the bottom, there's a plus sign to add additional pages. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I have a new page. I'm actually going to call my new page Dramatic Movies and click Done. So now you can see up here, I have a link to my home page, and now I also have a link to my dramatic movies page, and I can go back and forth. If I want to go home, if I want to go to dramatic movies. Let's say I also want to create a page with comedies. So now I have my 3 pages here. 2 of them are blank except for my title. And of course I'll add elements here. So maybe I'm going to add a list of my favorite dramas. And I can add, a bulleted list with all my favorite movies. And maybe I'll do the same thing for comedies. But maybe for comedies, I want to do 2 separate pages. I want to have a page for dramatic comedies. Maybe I want to have romantic comedies, silly comedies. So I would like to add what's called subpages. Because up in my bar here, I don't want to have home, dramatic movies, comedies, romantic comedies, silly comedies, animated comedies. I want all the comedies to be together. So what I can do is create subpages. There are 2 ways I can do that. If you know ahead of time that you're going to create subpages, you can hover over the page that's going to have them, click on the 3 dots, and choose Add a Subpage. So let's say I know I want to have romantic comedies, and I'm going to do it again, comedies, 3 dots, Add Subpage. I also want to have silly comedies. But let's say when I get to animated comedies, I forget to go to comedies and 3 dots, but instead I just click on the plus and I do animated comedies. You can see that this page is not a subpage of comedies. It's not over here with these other 2. Instead, it's back out, and I can see that it's appearing in my bar up here, which is not where I want it. Those other 2, romantic and silly comedies, you might have noticed this new little image here of a down arrow, and that's where romantic comedies and silly comedies are. I want animated comedies over here. So one of the easiest ways to do that is simply to click on this and drag it up into this area. You can see there are a few places I can drag it so that it will come here in the comedy section. So it's as easy as that. You can click and drag and move your pages around. So you can see that I dragged it so that it's back up there. Now I can drag it so that it's back under here. So you can click and drag things on your pages page so that you can move things wherever you want them. So now I have home, dramatic movies, and all my comedies under comedies. That's probably enough for now. I'm going to leave you guys with those basics. Now you can create a website that has a home page. You can add text boxes, you can add images, you can search for images, and you can create additional pages with sub-pages, all on your Google site. Of course, if you have questions, you can email me or you can come into my Google Meet. Good luck.